Hey, so I was coming on to release a word for 2022. That's not something I usually do necessarily or anything like that, but I had a dream, and I released it on Facebook, but God actually helped me interpret part of the dream that I didn't release on Facebook, and so I wanted to make a video explaining that part. So God gave me a dream, and in the dream, somebody had purchased everything in this store. And I went immediately to the jewelry counter, and I saw this watch. And it was like a metallic watch with a big face on it that was blue crystal with a deer in it. And there was this man standing there. And I said, I would like that watch. And he hesitated. He said, that's a man's watch. He said, why don't you take this one instead? And he handed me a watch that still had a blue face, but it was shaped like a heart. And it was very delicate and dainty and feminine. And I was like, okay. And he said, oh, also take this cup. It was a very old, very Japanese looking cup. It was green. And anyway, I took it. And at the end of the dream, I was drinking out of this cup, and a friend saw me, and she was shaking her head, and she was like, I can't believe you're drinking out of that cup. And I could tell she thought it was demonic. But I knew that the man who had given it to me wouldn't have given me anything demonic. So I was like, yep, sure am drinking out of it, and kept drinking out of it. So God had already told me about the cup, and it has to do with Matthew 20:22, which says, Jesus answered by saying, you don't know what you are asking. Are you able to drink from the bitter cup of suffering I am about to drink? Oh yes, they replied, we are able. And so I believe 2022 is going to be a time of persecution, just being honest, because that's what I'm getting from that verse. But at the same time, today the Lord helped me understand the beginning part with the watches. Before, I didn't include that in my word when I released it on Facebook. But he told me that he was wanting me to choose the more feminine watch, right? And so I feel like it was time. Watch tells time for the feminine. And so for this year, I also feel like God is going to be revealing the more feminine side of himself, because while yes, God is our Father and God describes himself in masculine terms, there is a feminine side to God because woman came out of man. And so I don't know necessarily if it's going to be an increased time of female ministers. That would be fantastic. I mean, but I do believe this will be a year when the feminine is chosen more, just like it was in my dream, and possibly a time where Christians are going to have to make the decision about whether or not they're willing to drink a cup of suffering for the gospel. And so while some people might not see that as hopeful, I think it's very interesting, and I'm looking forward to this year very much.